How's it going? Welcome along to Golf Weekly. We are back. The snow is gone and we have returned. And what a week to return as well, because Phil Mickelson is back in the winner's enclosure. First time in over 5 years. He won the World Golf Championship in Mexico in pretty dramatic fashion. And I think by and large, everyone enjoyed it. Certainly going on the tweets, which we will get to. We'll talk about that. And we'll talk about this week, the Valspar Championship. It's only got Rory, it's only got Tiger, and some of the best players in the world right now. Some of them are out in course. So we'll chat a bit about that. Probably shorter than usual. It's just myself and Peter Lawrie. But hey, I always think, Peter, that's probably enough.
It's the gruesome twosome, Nathan.
It's the brains trust.
Absolutely.
People who know about golf.
Yeah, we don't need any of these Skypers.
No. Fionn will be back next week. Joe, I just think he's gone stratospheric. I just think he's gone past Golf Weekly. But I didn't say that. Those were his exact words.
I think he's doing his makeup.
I think he actually said, I'm too good for you guys now. Which I was a bit offended by. But listen, if that's the way he wants to treat our listeners, that's just fine. We've had a lot of responses and emails and tweets and all that over the last couple of weeks. We weren't here last week because we had the worst snowstorm in about 35 years in Ireland.
It was unbelievable, wasn't it? Kids loved it. Off school.
Yeah, parents weren't quite so keen after the third day of everybody being stuck inside.
Well, me too. 4 young children, indoors.
Were you open?
Golf course wise? Absolutely
Clearly not.
No, clearly not.
How many days were you closed for?
6.5. We opened today for the first time since last Wednesday, which is 7 days now, and we only opened 9 holes.
Wow.
So
what does a golf course do then? Do you have insurance against things like that? Or are you just like any business, you just suck it up?
Just like any business, you just suck it up, yeah.
Wow.
Try and reduce your staff and hope for the best. And, you know, when people get out on the golf course, they're when the snow goes, they're all gung-ho to play a bit of golf. I think we're all a bit stir-crazy at the moment.
That is for sure. At Golf Weekly OTB is the Twitter handle if you want to get in touch, as always. And we have had a lot of them. We will start with Lee Power, who said, at Golf Weekly OTB, just been listening to the last podcast, Peter talking about the ball. We don't even use the same ball as the Pros anymore. Kevin Nass posted on Instagram where he put up about a Pro V1 Dash, which is only for tour professionals, not for sale. 1% better ball speed off the driver head.
No, I think this is something that Titleist do. They try and put it out there that it's like a marketing tool, and then all of a sudden, it'll be announced or given out to the amateurs. It's just a matter of time before it comes to everybody else.
Also, if I'm Titleist, like it's the ultimate placebo for any golfer is just say, this is a brand new ball. Only the 20 best players on tour get this. It sends it 3 yards longer. The spin rate is 4% better, and you're like, wow, I'm going to play unbelievably well today. And then you just do.
Yeah, I'll give you a quick story. I played with I used to be with Strixon, and they had these guys over from Japan with 3 brand new golf balls that they had. These were technically the best golf ball that they were going to do, but they only had 3 of them, so you were only allowed try it out, but they wanted the golf balls back.
Right.
So they walked a couple of holes, and of course it was a Tuesday. I had stepped off for flight. I was a bit kind of stiff. Hit one or two a little bit wayward. There was this little Japanese guy going into the water to try and get his prototype golf ball back.
Oh no. Did you blame the ball?
Absolutely.
So a deal with Strixon, what does that involve? Hard cash?
Hard cash, yeah. I was a what would you call it, a team player for Strixon. I was and I used everything Strixon. I had to use 9 clubs, bag, hat, so.
And how much freedom do you have then? Do you go back to, do they give you a limited supply of equipment, or can you go back every 3 weeks and go on a new set of clubs?
Oh, you can go as many times as you want. I remember
you not just stock up for all your mates?
Yeah, well,
yes.
Most of your mates unfortunately might take
most of your mates are on tour and
exactly, yeah. So you come back and your mates who are amateurs couldn't use the stuff that you're using, you know what I mean? Like they would all call it like poker sticks and all the rest.
Okay.
But I remember going to the factory in Japan, which was amazing to see how a golf ball was actually built. You weren't allowed to put your hands in your pockets. You had to wear a white suit going through the factory. It was fantastic.
Wow.
Yeah.
And were you very specific? Were you very anal about how you wanted your clubs?
No, not at all. Not at all.
You weren't one of their more demanding clients?
No, and I wouldn't have a clue what I was using. Like somebody said to me, what shafts have you got? What grips have you got? I don't know.
Really?
You know what I mean? Whatever it was.
Does that give you that extra, if you did take that interest? So all those long, lonely nights on tour, if you spent a Tuesday evening in for 3 hours looking, researching, maybe gives you that extra maybe saves you a shot around?
No. It would do your head in and lose you a shot around.
Many players do that?
There's a few, all right, that would be mad into the technical part of it.
Harrington?
He would be one of them, but there's plenty more out there like him. With equipment, you sort of feel it. I was more of a field kind of guy, so you'd try a few, different shafts and whatever else. So what suited you then was what you would use.
Okay. So yeah, you felt good over the ball, and that was all that mattered.
Exactly.
So Lee Power, don't panic, because the Pro V1 Dash is going to be coming to a store near you soon at a very tasty price, no doubt. Danny Fitzgerald, Eddie Pepperell, who won on the European Tour the week before last and was a very popular winner, and who we're going to try and get on the pod as well over the next while. People have been saying for ages we should get Eddie Pepperell on, because he writes a really interesting blog. He's pretty honest about where his career is and life on tour. His caddy, Mick Doran, is getting a lot of praise after his first tour win. Says he was on Paul Lawrie's bag for a while. Did he mean Peter Lawrie's bag?
No,
he wasn't on your bag.
No, definitely wasn't.
Was he on Paul Lawrie's bag for a while?
I think
I think Danny just thinks you're Paul Lawrie, because he said, what was he like and what makes a good caddy?
Well, no, he definitely wasn't on my bike. Mick Doran, he caddied for Jamie Donaldson, did he not? And he caddied for David Howell for a bit as well. I actually don't think he caddied for Paul Lawrie.
Okay. Well, we are, funnily enough, I mentioned Eddie Pepperell. We're hoping to have Paul Lawrie on the pod over the next little while as well, maybe even next week, to chat about his career. And with quite a few people, last time around I think you were talking about slow play and how it's something that really frustrates the life out of professional golfers, but you sort of bitch and moan to yourselves and it never comes up. The very next day, Paul Lawrie went on Twitter and slated several players for slow play.
Yeah.
So we can chat to him a little bit about that as well. Paul Fitzsimmons, Wayne Riley, dressed in a bear suit, a new low for Sky Sports golf coverage, # make it stop. I'm not having anything said against Radar. I like Radar.
I like Radar as well, yeah.
It's a bit eccentric, it's a bit...
He needs
sometimes
that.
He goes a bit over the top. But is that not his role? It's sort of that sort of court gesture.
Exactly, yeah. And to be honest with you, his commentary is very good. He gives you a good idea of what's going on, the lie, the kind of shape of shot that has to be played, and he describes it pretty well. So, no, Radar's brilliant. But getting back to Eddie Pepperell, have you seen his tweets lately?
I have.
He's gone mad.
Is he not just enjoying himself? He has a freedom of being a European Tour winner?
Yeah, but I think that little freedom has gone a little bit too far.
Oh, yeah? You think he's going to regret some of the things he's been saying?
I would have said so, yeah.
I'm going to have another look just in case I missed any of them. We'll come back to your tweets in a minute, because we want to go to Florida, because it is the opening day of the Valspar Championship in... Is it Palm Beach or Palm Harbour? I'm not sure. Rex Haggard is there, either way he can tell me. Rex, is it Palm Beach you're in?
I believe it's Palm Harbor, right outside Tarpon Springs.
Okay, very good. So this is, we're all very excited about what Phil did last week, and what a way to follow it up. Tiger, Rory in the same field.
Yeah, I mean, it's a pretty impressive field here at Valspar, and normally this is not the field that they end up with. I mean, the officials here are very pleased, because not only do you have Rory, you have Henrik Stenson, you have Jordan Spieth, but oh yeah, that other guy, Tiger Woods, is also playing.
I watched Rory's press conference yesterday. Seemed, I don't know, I'm thousands of miles away and you're watching on YouTube and you don't want to read too much. It seemed almost a little bit downbeat, maybe didn't have his usual energy. I know he said he had spent time over the last little while at Augusta getting some practice in. Do you sense any sense from him that he's feeling a bit of pressure with the way some of his rivals have started the season?
I don't think that's the pressure he's feeling. I think he's just feeling pressure to get the results. I mean, speaking with him yesterday, and you're right, he was a little bit more subdued than what we're used to from Rory, but I think it's a lot like the situation that Phil has been in for the last 4 years before last week. I mean, you keep saying you're close, you feel like you're close, everything's working on the range, but the scores aren't reflecting that on the golf course, and there's always going to be an understandable level of frustration. And I think also there's going to be a level of pressure, self-imposed pressure, and I'm certain that Rory's dealing with that right now, simply because you're getting to the part of the season that is probably most important to him. Let's face it. I mean, a Masters green jacket is the last piece of the puzzle for him, so to speak, in the Grand Slam category, and he's probably putting a lot of pressure on himself to make sure his game is in the best shape it can possibly be heading to Augusta.
He's currently level par at the turn of his opening round. He's only 3 shots off the lead. It is still very early stages. Tiger then, he's going to play this week and next week. He says that the body is in very good shape, that there have been no ill effects to playing back-to-back weeks last time around. Like we talked to you a lot about the Tiger effect in America and just how big a deal he is for golf. Have you noticed that over the last few weeks, that really the interest in golf from your average sports fan in America is really starting to build again just because of Tiger?
Absolutely. I mean, look, he he sort of transcends the sport. And other players are very, very popular, and other players have carried the game, so to speak, since Tiger Woods has gone through these lists of health issues that he's had, Rory being one of them, Jordan, Dustin Johnson. But I don't think anything can compare to Tiger Woods, certainly not in my lifetime. And I'm just sitting by the first tee right now, and I cover this event every year. And there's bigger crowds now in and around the first tee than I've ever seen, even on a Sunday afternoon with the leaders going off, simply because we're about an hour and a half away from Tiger's tee time. And I think that's a pretty good indication of what he's able to do. I mean, you look at our numbers on the Golf Channel and NBC Sports, what they've been able to produce with him on the golf course because of the level of interest, and certainly his play 2 weeks ago at the Honda Classic. But just in general, I mean, I always kind of gauge it by the number of interview requests I get. I've done a lot more interview requests the last couple of weeks than I had the last couple of years.
There was probably half an hour or so maybe on the final day of the Honda when there was a feeling that maybe Tiger had put himself in some sort of contention, but getting that buzz back for him, and at his press conference and the way he's been talking this week, do you sense that the good play at the Honda and the way he ironed out some of his issues off the tee, that he's looking at the next few weeks a different way than maybe he was even a month ago?
Yeah, I'm sure he changed his perspective. And look, he came in to this particular comeback with a very even head for Tiger Woods. And, he always said he showed up to win every single week, but I think that it obviously changed. I mean, when you're out of competition for as long as he has been, when you go through the things that he has, when you have fusion surgery, you just don't know. You don't know what the next chapter is going to bring. And he's been encouraged by all of the things that you just talked about, and certainly the tie for 12th at the Honda Classic was a big part of that. But I think the bigger deal is, keep in mind, the Honda Classic was his second consecutive week of playing. He played Los Angeles the week before, and he talked yesterday about being able to leave Sunday from the Honda Classic and get right back to work, both on the golf course and on the range and in the gym. And I think that's the most positive sign he takes from this, and I think that's where he's getting all of his confidence, because his body is withstanding and doing the things that he wants it to do, and that's always been the missing element the last few years.
Clearest sign yet that it's a new Tiger. We saw him in a sort of playful mood on the range yesterday on some of the Sky Sports coverage, and also complimenting Phil Mickelson on a win.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty surprising when you think of those two's history together, but I think it kind of shows where he's at in his career. I think it was telling that earlier this week he played a practice round with Jim Furyk and Steve Stricker of Davis Love III, and he kind of referred to them as the four captains. And if you look at the way the Ryder Cup and the President's Cup has played out the last few years, it kind of shows his role now in the game. I mean, he used to be very focused. He used to be very one-dimensional. He'd show up at tournaments, and there wasn't a lot of chit-chat. There wasn't a lot of talk. There wasn't a lot of friendly banter. And look, it was very successful. Win 14 major championships. You do the things he did in his career. You can't second-guess that. But I think he's at the point in his career now where he knows he's a leader. He knows he's one of the elder statesmen, so to speak, on the PGA Tour, and he's embraced that role.
Is he working with anyone on his swing on these off weeks?
No. I mean, we've asked him kind of repeatedly about it. And, I think he's kind of in a position maybe similar to what, Rory sometimes. I mean, Rory has been very upfront about wanting to own his swing, whether that was on the green, putting, and I know he has a swing coach, but I think when it comes to what Tiger's trying to do now, it's very similar to that, where when he's on the golf course, he wants to know what's wrong, how to fix it, how to move forward. And right now, I just think he's going solo. I don't know that that's going to last. I can see him turning to a second set of eyes, and I'm sure there are people in his circle, Nota Begay being the first example that comes to mind, that probably help out, that step up and look at video and talk to him about what they're seeing. But I think right now he's self-taught, so to speak. Before
we let you go, Rex, were you in Mexico last week?
I was.
The dynamic at the end of the final round, I thought it was interesting, because we see all the time with this new breed of golfers, with Spieth, with Thomas, with Fowler, and with a couple of other players around them as well. They've such a close collegiate sort of relationship. They all hang around at the end of each other's tournaments when they're in contention. They all seem actually genuinely happy when one of their mates wins a big tournament. And it seemed as though Justin Thomas, as Phil Mickelson walked off the 18th, was sort of expecting that sort of friendly bond that he would have with his mates when they were preparing for the playoff. And Phil just went into, as Tiger almost put it a couple of weeks ago, it's winning time mode, and gave him a very brief handshake and was fully focused. Is that me totally reading too much into things, or was Phil mentally maybe ready for what Justin Thomas was expecting?
No, I think there was something there. I mean, I saw it from the early warm-up on Sunday morning. I mean, it was some friendly banter around him, and Phil wanted no part of it. I mean, he had a game face on that I haven't seen in a long time, and I don't think you can dismiss that. He certainly had talked in recent years about these laps in focus on the golf course. And I think on Sunday in Mexico, he was determined not to let that happen again. And look, he and Justin Thomas and all the young players are very, very close. And I think Phil appreciates what they bring to the game. But after so many years of having not won, going all the way back to the 2013 Open Championship, I think he saw this as his best opportunity, and he wasn't going to let it slip away. I don't think you're reading into that at all. I think that was really happening.
What are we, 3-4 weeks away from the Masters right now? Who's your money on?
If I had to put money on someone, I think I'd pick Justin Thomas, simply because of the way he's playing the game right now, and he finished first and second, and I think it's a golf course that sets up well for him when you hit it as high as he does and as far as he does. But when you start trying to pick a favorite for Augusta at this time of year, you're splitting hairs, because certainly Dustin Johnson has played very well this year. I think you can make a really good argument that Phil Mickelson could maybe be the favorite, simply the way he played last week, the way he's been playing the last few weeks, and his familiarization with that golf course. So I think you could probably come up with 5, 6, 7 different guys to make a really good argument that they should be the favorite. All
right, Rex, you've been great with your time, as always. Enjoy the tournament this week, and hopefully we get a chance to talk to you again ahead of the Masters.
Anytime. Have a nice evening.
Rex Haggard there from the Golf Channel, who joins us from Florida, and the Valspar Championship ongoing. We'll come back to that in a minute. There's quite a few points there about Phil and about Tiger and his swing and what we can maybe expect from him this week. We'll go through some of the other tweets though as well. Jason McNamara, again delighted for Eddie Pepperell on a well-deserved and overdue win on the European Tour. In my opinion, the most interesting golfer on tour, as he's willing to give his constructive and insightful opinion on any topic, which is refreshing. He should hook up with Golf Weekly. Exactly. It'd be good for his career to hook up with us rather than our career to get him on. I think we're doing just fine without him.
Yeah, I think we'll get him next week.
Get him next week?
Yeah.
Oh, look at this. He's got the phone out already.
I actually think we might get him today.
Wow.
How long have we got?
Well, we can just keep talking. We could just literally keep rambling on and on and on. Let's save it to next week when we've a bit of time to think about it.
Exactly, yeah.
I want to go through his tweets for many years so we can call him up on everything he said. Gonzac 17, 11 PGA Tour wins and 3 majors by the age of 24. If this is what average constitutes, what about above average? I think I must have just copied that down wrong. He's talking about Jordan Spieth. There was a lot about this, Peter. Oh, people were not happy.
I thought so too. But what I keep on saying is he has done exceptionally well. Don't get me wrong, but the proof of a brilliant player or a top class player is to come out of a slump that he's in currently. He's not putting well. His whole game was based around being an exceptionally good putter. He wasn't a spectacular driver of the ball, iron player, chipper, but putter. Get him on the green, and he was holding putts. Currently, he's not holding any putts. 35 putts there last Saturday at the weekend. So
the one thing with Spieth, you sense he's the type of character that if there is a way, and you suspect there is at his age, if there is a way of turning this round, he'll find it. He will put those hours in. So you say Saturday at 35 putts. The story afterwards, he was 2 hours on the putting green trying to sort some things out. Like, there's never been an issue with his work ethic.
No, and you go back to Tiger, you know what I mean, spent hours upon hours one-handed hitting the ball in the hole, and how many clutch putts did he hole in his time? As I said, look, the proof is in the pudding. Jordan Spieth to me is not the most spectacular player in the world, and I know you don't like to hear that, and probably a lot of listeners either might agree with me or might not agree with me, but they look,
the listeners can be wrong as well, you know.
Absolutely. I look at the likes of, you know, I love to watch Tiger, I love to watch Rory, Dustin Johnson, the same thing, and just Jordan doesn't have that for me.
You do have some friends among the listeners. Kevin Maher, thank God for Peter Lawrie. Finally some opposition to the sickening Jordan Spieth love-in affair on Golf Weekly. Most irritating player on tour. John says, I'm 100% with Peter on Spieth. The X factor is the jammy look that follows him everywhere. Shit shots that don't go out of bounds somehow. That's the full extent of the sport. Kieran O'D, evening lads, loving new format to the pod. Any chance organising another day out for friends of the pod? Portmarnock was a great day out. It was a great day out. Maybe Luttrellstown will be a cracking venue at Golf Weekly OTB, where we will have some news for you next week about a Golf Weekly / off the ball day out. We had one last year in Luttrellstown.
We did.
I don't want to give hints as to where it may be this year on the eve of the Masters, but we should hopefully have full details about all that next week. I would just say keep the eve of the Masters free. Take the day off work if you can. It's a Wednesday, so just giving. This is because we'll have to invite some off the ball listeners as well. So,
friends of the pod.
Of the pod.
I had a booking this morning. He the guy, won't name him at this moment in time, but looking for a booking at tea time, and he said, by the way, I'm a friend of the pod.
And did he get the friend of the pod 10% discount?
He certainly did.
Oh, I didn't even know it was a thing.
No, I just began it this morning.
We actually, now that I think about it, and as usual, having our production meetings on air, we should organise a 10% friend of the pod discount, but actually we get 5% of it back.
There you go.
Is that a sustainable business model that I've just thought of?
Yes.
Genius. And
all we need to do is get the golf clubs out there.
Okay.
Each one of them, Lutterstown of course is first, but the other golf clubs to tweet us, and we will put them up on our list. And
I love all golf. I really like Lutterstown, but there's a lot
there's loads of golf clubs out there that would love to get involved.
I love all golf courses.
Yeah.
And the great thing is Joe and Fiona aren't here, and if they don't listen back, which is highly likely, they'll never know anything about this.
No.
So we're onto a handy little learner.
50-50.
Great stuff. Owen Murphy, and you I haven't warned you about this, but I'm sure you have a good idea of it. Does Peter think the new universal handicap system coming in 2020 will benefit the amateur game? And as you were talking about the golf ball last week, what ball would he recommend for an amateur with a single figure handicap?
You can't go wrong with the Pro V1. Okay, you really can't. So start going in the twos in your local pro shop or your local tournament, your weekend competition, and buy yourself a few Pro V1s. They last, if you
not
don't,
when I'm playing with them.
Well, look, you stop playing those water golf courses.
I've now taken to giving them away to people because I'm just not fully deserving of them. I lose so many of them. I just give them away. I'm like,
they're a brilliant golf ball.
People who fully appreciate them.
Why are they number one golf ball? And have been for the last I don't know how many
marketing.
years. Not all marketing, no.
What about the Strixon golf ball?
Strixon golf ball was very good, but when you get used to something, you kind of stick with it.
The universal handicap system?
Universal handicap system is going to be good. It's going to be a slope type system, and I think it'll help out a lot of golfers and golf clubs. I am not that in great favour of the very high handicaps that people can get. You can be able to get up to 54, I believe, which is
great.
I just think it's a little bit too high. Getting kind of 3 shots a hole is a bit weird. You
could literally take your putter off the tee.
A few people have tried that one. I know one person that might like it, Jean Van de Velde. He could have hit a few putts up the last.
Lawrie, so what is the one major change then for the universal handicap system? Because when it's 2020 it's coming in, most people will just ignore it until it's 2020.
They will, yeah. But major changes is each golf course will be on a slope basis. The incredible high handicap of 54 now you'll be able to get. And the third one is you will be monitored on your handicap at all times. So literally when you go out to play a round of golf, and even if it's just with a few mates, you can fill in a card and put it in. So it'll help people to get their handicap that little bit lower.
Alright, that's interesting. Right, we might come back to that again between now and 2020. Johnny Longhall, NYC. Listening to the guys on CBS repeatedly going on about Hatton attitude on the golf course. Can't hide the begrudgery towards him. Never mention of Patrick Reed at Bubba week in, week out. Please, Phil, win this. So badly want it. # Kennedy Brothers, who are friends of the pod. So they were giving out about Tyrrell Hatton's attitude, which for anyone who watches European Tour golf won't have come as a surprise. But the grass on the side of 18 was different from the grass on the rest of the course.
It was different than anywhere on the golf course.
Anywhere on the golf course.
That's what he said, yeah. Look, Tyrrell is... you'd love to take him out, get his mother in there, take him around the back, give him a few slaps and bring him back in, because that's exactly what he needs. A bit of a wooden spoon that he probably never had in his whole life. Realise where he is, what he's doing, how he's doing it, how much he just got paid for finishing third in a WGC event. Probably what...
But you know you didn't win it.
500 grand.
Is that not totally understandable? And at the same time, we do complain about golf coverage at times being a bit flat, being a bit boring. Is it not good to have a few of the other type of personalities who do actually react, who do show that bit of emotion? It
is, but like John McEnroe showed great emotion in tennis. Okay, he ripped umpires apart. He said you can't be serious was his catchphrase. Tyrrell is just moping around the whole time. At least.
Do you think it's preventing him becoming a better golfer?
Very much so. Yeah, very much so. I think if he could control his temper a little bit better, I think he would do far better.
Yeah, because that final putt on 18, which is worth a hell of a lot of money in terms of Ryder Cup points, FedEx Cup points, world ranking, you name it. You just knew there was never a hope in hell he was going to make it.
Not a chance, no. Not a chance.
His head was gone.
His head was gone, but like to miss the green with, his caddy was right. He should have hit a soft wedge in there, but he tried to hammer a gap wedge and missed it right. So it was a bad choice.
A lot of the rest of the tweets are about Phil, so we might chat about Phil winning the WGC in Mexico at Golf Weekly OTB if you want to get in touch with us for next week. So this was brilliant entertainment on Sunday night, as it always is when Phil is contending. And remember, it's only 5-6 weeks ago we were actually talking about the likes of Furyk, McDowell dropping out of the top 200, and Phil that week being on the verge of dropping out of the top 50. He's turned it round. He's gone on one of his most consistent spells ever in terms of 4 consecutive top 10s, and culminates with his first win in, over 5 years? 4.5 years? 2013 Open, so 4.5 years at this stage since he won the Open Championship. And it just had everything from Justin Thomas holing out on 18. With Phil, there's so much you can read into it. So Danny Finnan, basically backing up what I was asking Rex Haggard, JT hanging around like a little fanboy to congratulate Phil on making the playoff really annoyed me. I don't think Rory, DJ, Garcia, Ram, Stenson would have done it. Certainly not Tiger. Phil should have ignored him and kept walking. This is competition. See, I think the thing was, Phil pretty much did just ignore him.
Phil was in... Look, you get to a stage where you know you're going to have very few chances to win a golf tournament. And he's currently in that stage. And given the opportunity that he had, there was nobody going to stand in his way. He had finally got himself, it's a one-on-one situation. All he has to do is beat the next guy and he's going to win the tournament. I thought he'd close it out on 18 actually, when he hit a brilliant tee shot off the tee to set himself up with for him an easy wedge in, at least give himself a chance. And then he left that, 4 feet, 3 feet. I was worried that he was going to miss that one, but as I said, you get very few chances. He really needed to concentrate, and that's what he did. None of this friendly business. Get out there, win the tournament, and then he can be friendly with whoever he likes. Yeah,
Pierce Blundell, a very quick good look on the tee. No eye contact from Phil before the playoff. Justin Thomas immediately out of his comfort zone, too used to competing with his buddies, backslapping each other up the fairway. You see, I think there's a lot of truth in that, and I do think the backslapping works for that generation. Like, you can't say it doesn't. Look at all they've done. Look at the amount of tournaments that they go and win. And maybe at times we can look at Ricky Fowler and say he doesn't have that ruthlessness that Thomas and Spieth do, but it's certainly never done Justin Thomas any harm hanging around the back of the 18th to congratulate one of his mates. He seems to have that within him, that he can be both happy for them and then maybe the next day when he lines up in practice go, I need a bit of that.
But I think when you're in a group like that, it certainly does help. It spurs you, each one of you on. You know what I mean? There's nothing worse than... I know it happened with me when Damien won his tournament. It was like the very next week I won a tournament, and it was... 2 weeks after Darren won in between us. It was a great spur to go and do something, and when you get the opportunity, then you really try even harder,
Was that spur then when McGrain won? McGrain win in China?
China, yeah.
Yeah. Was that well, I know I'm as good as him, so therefore I know I can do it?
Exactly. You think, well, if he can do it, and we've played practice rounds and we've done this and done that together, well, why can't I? And then you go out and you get yourself into that position. You think, yeah, I can do this. My mate's just done it, so why can't I?
It's hard to know where to rank Justin Thomas's shot on 18, because ultimately it didn't win him the tournament, and we already know Dustin Johnson has the greatest shot of all time from earlier in the year, so that's already shot of the year in the bag. Even with not winning the tournament, to be able to pull out a shot like that on 18 for eagle, and I know we're only in March.
Look, you're lucky enough that the ball goes in the hole. He hit the perfect wedge shot. It spun back, and it went in. And these things happen to guys who practice, and that kind of shot. But it's always a bit of luck that the ball goes in the hole. Like, look at Robert Games, who did, what was it, Greg Norman? He beat out in Pebble Beach, holding that shot. No, it wasn't Pebble Beach, it was Bay Hill. So you just never know. You hit it down the flag and you hope for the best. Whether it goes in, it goes in. It's kind of lucky from that side.
It wasn't just Phil and Justin Thomas. It wasn't just Justin Thomas that Phil was having a mental battle with. Over the weekend, the Indian player who got right into contention, Sharma, basically thought he was somebody who was working with the media.
That was funny, yeah.
His competitor asked Terrell Hatton how he said his name. Now, maybe both of these are completely innocent, and actually Phil has been very polite towards Terrell Hatton because he's going to play around with him and wants to call him Terrell or Tyrell and wants to figure it out. Or he's going, we're about to play together in the final round of a big tournament. I haven't won in 4.5 years, and I don't even know who you are.
No, I don't.
Phil Mickelson.
No, I don't think so.
I don't even know who you are.
To be fair, Phil had to put up with the hysterics of Tyrrell throughout the last round, and when you're trying to win a tournament, that's the last thing you want to be going on.
Yeah, so Phil's 47 now, and we know he can win around Augusta. Like, my sense, and I think I've said this in the pod before, my feeling with Phil is that his thing, so we know he's always been overshadowed completely by Tiger, and we'll never maybe know if he was in a different generation just how many majors Phil would have won. That Phil's thing is going to be he will become the oldest ever major winner. So Julius Boris has it, 48. Phil's 47 now. I can see Phil winning a major at 50.
Really?
Can he win around Augusta at 50? 2.5, 3 years from now?
I think he hits it long enough to win anywhere.
Yeah.
Let's be honest. Will his putting hold up for that length of time? That's my only question with Phil Mickelson. And he still has the desire. You can see it in him.
Is it easier or more difficult for, say, somebody like Phil, who's a specialist around Augusta, to get his putting to work on a week like that? Like, he understands those greens so well. Or is it that as that natural decline comes as you get older with your putting, that no matter how well you understand Augusta, you're just going to struggle more and more and more?
I think it's all about mental attitude and nerves. If you can control the nerves, I think he'll do exceptionally well around Augusta. He has the game. He's long enough, as I said. It's a matter of being patient and holding your nerve, and I think that's probably a little bit more difficult as you get a little bit older.
Yeah, I've backed Phil quite a bit at the Masters in recent times, and holding his nerve has always been the problem. There's been a complete meltdown every year. There's been a triple bogey thrown in at a bad time, sometimes 2 triple bogeys, and it just destroys his round. I do just wonder this year, maybe with him not being the centre of attention as much, there's going to be so much talk about Rory, Tiger, everybody else, he can sort of sneak in.
No, there's still going to be an awful lot of attention onto Phil. I really do.
Do you get excited watching Phil?
I think he's the most exciting player out there at this moment in time, yeah.
Right.
And still is. And, you know, over the years, he's been one of the most exciting players.
Yeah, like we're always going to judge golfers on their majors, so Phil having 5 probably not really where he should be in terms of the pantheon of great golfers. Like, where do you rank him right now, even if he doesn't go and win another major?
As an overall person and as an overall sports person, I would have said he's very close to being my number one, and that's because he's of what he gives back to the game, and you know how personable he is on TV and interviews and whatever else. He has never suffered the Tigerisms. He's far more like Jack Nicklaus.
So as a fully rounded golfer,
exactly,
not just focused on literally having his 18 majors. Yeah,
and he has his family and he has his plane and he goes here and he goes there, and he hasn't had the, you know, the sordid affairs that other players have had. Now, you know, I suppose he's had issues with gambling in the past, and that has come out. Yeah,
and I do wonder how much that affected him over the last 18 months or so, because we're not talking about trivial gambling issues. So we know he loves a bet. Yeah. Like, we've heard from countless people from his Tuesday games, which I think he's probably even been sort of warned off talking about them as well now, considering the amount of money they were betting amongst the other players. From Harrington saying they'd be sitting in a restaurant on a Thursday night after a round and literally going, who's playing? I don't know, but I'm going for blue, you're going for red, and having a few $100s on that, right up to essentially what was insider trading and just a very late change in the law, which resulted in him not going to jail. Yeah. Like, that's going to be a lot of stress on you.
It is, yeah. And other players, I believe, are going through some of that stress again in their career, and they have been quite quiet since.
Is gambling a big issue on tour? Like inside, clearly in America it's slightly different, and insider trading and stocks and shares and all that's very different to sticking a few £100 on a football team or something like that. Like, and because it is such a upper class game in America and so Republican, and it is quite often an awful lot of people who work in stock markets. You spend time with these people, you're getting this sort of information.
Yeah, well, as my wife would say to me, if a bird flew over and told me to invest in something or other, I would have invested in it at that time. And you know, she's right in a way, as a sports person, and you have this kind of disposable income, and you think it's never going to last, or it's never going to run out. You're going to have this disposable income for the whole of your life. When you're in that position, now you realise, Jesus, if I had kept some of that money, I would be okay. So it's very easy to get into the situation where you gamble on something that you're not even watching, you know, and that there is a problem. And you see a lot of the players gambling on horses and stuff, and never even watching the race.
I'm surprised it's not, and maybe it is a huge issue actually in golf, and we just don't hear about it that often, because you have so much time away, you have so much time off, you have so much time in the evenings where you're sitting, as we've spoken about last time, sitting in your hotel room, sitting around a hotel, and now you're online, you're on your phone, and you can have a bet. And also, quite often, especially if you're doing well for yourself, as you say, you're young, you're 28, 29, you get a lot of disposable income.
I think it happens in all sports. I think there's a boredom factor there that you try and sort of, you know, solve, and you try and give yourself a situation where there's an upper, you know what I mean? With golf, if you're in contention, there's nothing better than that feeling. Never mind how much money it is, there's nothing better than that, you know, feeling of being in contention. And I think it comes as well with gambling, is giving yourself that hit. And you know, speaking to people who have suffered, you know, from gambling addictions, it's the hit they're looking for, and no matter how much money they put on, they can't get that hit.
Yeah, we might come back to that again. In fact, I think we're going to be doing quite a few pieces on Off the Ball over the next few weeks. Declan Lynch has a book out about an hour. To read this, Tony 10.
Tony
I just
10,
started reading it last night.
No, I actually said to myself, I must go buy it. And
I lost bet 10 million quid.
Fair play to him.
Well, he did rob the post office, so that's the bit where you have to stop saying fair play to him. It did ruin his life. He did go to jail.
But imagine spending 10 million.
Well, he went. Now,
Gambling
there was a part of me, I heard him being interviewed by somebody else, and he was trying to win back his money. And listen, obviously, do not follow Tony's path. But he was trying to win his money back, and he started on a Friday night with $5,000, and by Sunday he had $465,000.
Incredible.
He lost the $465,000 in 12 hours.
That was because I heard it. I was listening to somebody. The internet went down, and he was doing it over the phone, and that's where he lost the whole all of his bets. He was betting on stupid things because he couldn't see it.
Yeah,
it was like it was the internet went down. He got a phone call from Paddy Power.
Wow, right. We'll come back to that again.
Incredible.
We didn't really have a chance to talk Tiger and what he did at the Honda Classic, and as I say, it never really looked like he was going to go and win the tournament, but he was playing perfectly normal golf, it seemed, for 2-3 days. The concerns you had, and you had quite a few concerns about him off the tee. Yeah,
still do, to be honest with you.
Well, how did he manage to get it around so well?
It was a golf course that he wasn't using driver that much.
So is that the lesson he should take away from that? Let's leave the driver in the bag a bit more?
But if he does that, then he can't compete. You know what I mean? If you're hitting it, you know, with a 2-iron, or whatever, 280 down the fairway, you know, and someone else is hitting it 330, it makes the game a whole lot easier.
Yeah, it was still bloody exciting though.
It is exciting, and look, you know, I am a Tiger fan. That's why I was interested when you were talking to Rex there. I didn't want to interrupt, but it was a question that who is looking at his golf swing right now other than himself? Like, I know as playing out there, you always wanted somebody to say, yeah, you're doing X, Y or Z, or you're not doing it. Then you look at Rory, and Rory has somebody like that. Now, they don't change much, but you know, they still look at his swing.
They still look at it in the sense, I guess, that if suddenly Rory appeared from a 3-week break and something had dramatically changed, that I guess Michael Bannon would instantly be able to recognise it.
Exactly, yeah. And I think, you know, Tiger just probably needs somebody there, and maybe it is Nota Begay, as Rex said, that is looking at his swing and giving him a few ideas. But at this stage, I don't think he should be trying to change anything. I think he should be just working with what he has and trying to improve it.
Yeah, and we don't know what his medium term plan is. I guess, like, he may well have thought, I just want to go into these tournaments with a clear head. I'm just going to do my own thing for a little while, for 3-4 months. I'll work through it, make sure I'm fully fit, make sure I still enjoy being out there, all of that sort of stuff. And then, if needs be, I'll go and get some advice. I'll get somebody back in full time.
maybe so.
Rather than having that constant feedback. Rex, I think one of the terms he used there was about owning your own swing. Is that an ego thing? Surely you can have a coach and own your own swing.
I definitely think, yeah. Do you ever really own your own swing? You have a fair idea. I suppose Trevino was probably the best person to own his own golf swing that I can remember. Jack as well. Faldo always worked with kind of Ledbetter and other people. Langer a little bit kind of, swung the club in the same way, but he always had a coach standing there watching him hit balls. So it's difficult to own your own swing.
So this week it is the Valspar Championship where we were chatting to Rex from. Rory is currently out in course, just going down through the leaderboard here to see how he is getting on. He's 1 over par after 11. Now the lead is gone to 4 under par, so he finds himself 5 off the lead already. I don't know if you saw any of his press conference. He did seem, I'm always impressed with Rory in press conferences. He's got a good spark to him all the time. He seemed a little bit and again, who knows what happened 10 minutes before he walked in there, that he was a bit peeved off.
Maybe he's just fed up, answering the same questions and going through the same things that, when are you going to play better, when are you going to shoot better, how is your putting, how's this, how's that. I just wonder, I'd love to see a tournament with no press and no galleries and see what happened.
You'd win every one.
Rory?
Yeah.
Or Tiger?
Which? Rory?
I don't know. It would be great though. A little bit of TV.
Then we wouldn't get to watch either.
No,
so
but
pointless.
You could have TV there.
Is that not a practice round?
You could have TV there with no galleries.
That's called some of the events on the European Tour.
Well, he's done pretty well on them, hasn't he?
I'll be killed for saying that now. I'm joking.
There goes the sponsorship.
Bloody hell. Some of them, not the Dubai Duty Free Irish Open, which you won't be able to get near unless you get your tickets very soon.
Exactly.
Sergio played well last week. He's 3 under par after 11. And how do you think this course will suit Tiger?
I think it's setting up pretty decent. He's in a good frame of mind. I think after watching Phil, he said, he really enjoyed watching Phil and watching Phil win.
Because he had, as we point out many times in this podcast, up until last week, he had won more recently on the tour than Phil had.
Had he?
Yeah.
Wow.
Because Phil's last win was
2013.
Yeah, and Tiger won a couple of months later.
Right. So there you go. Maybe it could be a duo for the oldies.
Yeah. Short enough this week because it's only the two of us, but I think we've got through a lot nonetheless. Anything else you want to chat about? Justin Thomas throwing fans out?
Well, is he right?
Is he right?
Yes, I think
that's what
he
I
is.
thought. I was surprised that there was this outcry afterwards, and he basically came out and apologised and said, I really shouldn't have done it. Actually, you were dead right to do it. Lay down the law. It mightn't happen again.
Yeah, but there's nothing worse than it used to affect me something dreadful. You'd say something and you said, because I wish I didn't say that, because it would kind of irk you then, you know what I mean, that you said something, that you actually let somebody get at you.
And what would people have been saying to you?
I remember being in Australia, and I was playing the 18th hole, which was my 9th hole on Friday. I hit it on 2. I have about 15 footer for eagle. I have a go for it, miss it, and eventually somebody from the crowd says, pick it up. Trust me, I was fit to be tied.
Wow.
Yeah.
Did you have a go with them?
No, I didn't. No.
Have you ever had a pop back?
I think I've had a pop back at 1 or 2. Yeah.
We did we mention this previously? At the Irish Open last year, myself, Joe and Fionn were following Shane Lowry around, and we were inside the ropes, which is really the only way to go when you're at a golf tournament. And we were at, it could have been the 13th or 14th, which is away from actually where the fans are, so it's sort of an isolated tee box. So we're just standing at the side of it, and there was one guy who was sitting right behind the tee box, and Shane hit his drive and it was sort of drifting out towards the right, and he goes, "You're man behind the tee box." Well, I'll tell you, if looks could kill, he was dead right, because actually I think Shane was, now he was in the rough, but he was taking a little bit of a shortcut. He probably wasn't his greatest shot of all time, but I'd say it was even worse because it was just one guy.
Yeah,
he was the only person there.
Yeah, people do
doing a running commentary.
Yeah, they love to give you the running commentary, and you think to yourself, would you ever shut the you know what up?
Do you ever hear the commentators on course?
No, not really.
You never hear Radar going,
no, you'd never hear him.
With 7, maybe you should go with the 8.
No.
They're pros.
No, but they're just too far up the fairway. You know what I mean? And to be honest with you, they're guessing what club you're using.
Did not get the little indicator from the caddy?
They probably, the guy taking the stats will to tell the TV, and then the TV tells Radar, or maybe not, or maybe Radar's just guessing the yardage and he's thinking, right, it's either 8 or 7. You know what I mean? Right. The general public are not going to really know, are they?
Very good. I think we're done.
Okay.
We didn't have Fionn, or we didn't have Joe, but I think we managed to get through it, and
we survived.
We didn't want to go as we have done previously in the past, and suddenly 1 week becomes 2 weeks, which becomes a month, and then people are wondering if we're ever going to come back at all. We will definitely be back next Thursday as well. We should hopefully have some very exciting news about a off the ball / Golf Weekly golf day, and hopefully we'll have some special guests as well. As I say, Paul Lawrie definitely coming up over the next couple of weeks. We're going to try and get Eddie Pepperell as well, and who knows, we might try and check in with Shane Lowry as well over the next few weeks, see how he's getting on over in America. So all that to come at Golf Weekly OTB. We'll talk to you next week. Good luck.
Hey, hope you enjoyed that latest offering from Off the Ball. If you want to subscribe, and you should, check out just up here. All our latest stuff is just down here. Generally, knock yourself out.